Guys, welcome to our continuation of the Persian War. So where we left off, we were discussing how Darius, was trying to get land to build the Persian Empire even larger. And we said that during this time, the Anatolia Greeks revolted and Athens decided to help them out, which made Darius the first very upset. Okay, so Darius is going to set out for revenge. And we said that Athens, kind of like in a tricky way, was able to defeat the Persian military at Marathon, which only fueled Darius's anger. So we said that Darius's goal is going to set out to conquer Greece. Okay, so during this time, King Xerxes, the new king of Persia, is going to set out with 200,000 troops, warships, and supply vessels, and their goal is going to take over Greece. Okay, so we said that during this time, the city-states of Greece are going to band together. Athens is going to bring their navy, and Sparta are going to bring their soldiers. Okay, so King Leonidas of Sparta, he's going to supply the soldiers, and what they have to do is cut off the Persian army, who are coming on foot. Okay, if we look at the map, they're coming on foot from Persia, which is on the right-hand side of our map, up and across, and they're going to continue then down into Greece, all right, to get Sparta and Athens and so on. Okay, so King Leonidas is going to send his military towards the north to stop them. Okay, at this time, Athens is going to send their navy, and what they're going to do is try to prevent those naval vessels and supply ships from ever reaching Greece. Okay, so we said that in Athens, since they have their navy, they have to figure out, well, what do we attack first? Do we attack the supply vessels, or do we attack the naval vessels? Now, in the time of war, whether we're in ancient times or World War I or World War II, the biggest thing that you want to do is cut off supplies. Because if you cut off the supplies, then those troops, will not have any more weapons. They won't have any more troops coming in. Cut off the supplies first, and you kind of weed out the army as they're fighting. So Themistocles is going to send his troops or his naval vessels to block those supply ships, prevent them from getting any food, weapons, or new soldiers into Greece. Cut them off first. Okay, now Themistocles knows that, if they're sending all of these warships over and supply ships, they're going to have to think strategically. So what Athens is going to do, they have to cut the Persians off before they actually get to Athens. So what they're going to do, as Leonidas is going to lead these 700 soldiers into battle, up in the north, the naval vessels are going to attack those supply ships. Now, as Leonidas sends these 7,000 soldiers into battle, they're going to contact the Persians in a place called Thermopylae. And they're going to contact them, and it's going to be a 3-day long battle. And their bravery at Thermopylae is going to be celebrated. But the Greeks were not able to stop the Persians. Persians are bringing 200,000 troops. Sparta had 7,000. By sheer number, they're not going to be able to stop them. One problem was that a traitor from the Greek army is going to show the Persians a way to get behind their lines. And if the Persians get behind their lines and surround the Spartans, if you're surrounded, you don't have much of a chance to survive. So what King Leonidas is going to do, they're going to let his troops leave, all except for 300 men. Those 300 men are going to fight to the death. Their goal is not to defeat the Persians, simply to slow them down before they can get into the rest of Greece. So if we look at this map, what we're looking at on the right-hand side of the photo is the Persian Empire. The black line is going to be the trip of the invading Persian army. So they're going to go up and across, and down into Greece. We can see where Thermopylae is, which is right at the top of the purple. That's where the Spartans are going to really put up their largest attack to prevent the Persian army from getting into the rest of Greece. We can see Athens is the red dot, kind of in the center of the map. They're going to send their supply ships out, at this time. All right, so if we look at this, Athens had to be kind of strategic. So as the Spartans are taking their heroic stand, preventing the army from moving forward, this gives Athens an opportunity to attack those supply ships and cut off those naval vessels. So what they're going to do, they're going to lead the Persian military into a place called the Strait of Salamis. So they're going to lure them in. So their ships are going to be there. Those naval vessels are going to come to attack those ships. So as they enter into the Strait of Salamis, a strait is a really narrow channel of water. So if we think about our vocabulary terms, channel of water is very narrow, just able for like a ship or a couple of ships to pass. So Athens is going to lure these really large Persian vessels into a very narrow piece of water. the Athens ships are actually quite small. They're smaller, they're faster. Okay, once the Persian vessels got into the strait, and we can see it on the map there, how narrow this area is, okay, those Persian vessels weren't able to like turn around. So once they were in, they were kind of stuck. All right, so as the Persian Navy was stuck in the strait, okay, they wouldn't be able to move around and maneuver enough to destroy the Athenian boats. Okay, the Athens ships are smaller, they're faster, they could get around, and so on. So this strategy is going to work really well for the Athenian Navy. Okay, so what the Athenian Navy is going to be able to do, they're going to be able to sink about 300 Persian ships, and they only lost 40. Okay, during this time, the foot soldiers are going to push down into Greece. And as the Persian foot soldiers enter into Athens, they're going to find Athens gone. Okay, they deserted it. Okay, because they knew at this time, as the Spartans were trying to hold off the army, they knew that they weren't going to be victorious. So what they did, they had all the people leave and go into other city-states. Okay, so as the Persians got there, there was nothing there. So the Persians decided to set this all on fire. And we're going to notice that's a pretty common theme. Set the place on fire, no supplies, no food for anyone that may come back. Okay, so as time goes on, the Greek city-states are going to say, well, Sparta can't do this by ourselves. Let's join all our citizen armies together and let's fight Persia. Okay, so at this time they had the largest army that they've ever had. Okay, they had armor, they had weapons. Remember, the naval vessels of Athens cut off the supplies of the Persians, so they're not getting in a lot of soldiers at this time or a lot of supplies for them. Now, the wars in ancient times are going to last for really long periods. So this war is going to go on to 449 BC. So if we're thinking time frame, these wars are really long. Okay, and when wars are long, you're going to exhaust a lot of your resources, right? So as you're fighting, your resources are really your men, your weapons, and so on. Okay, so the longer the war is, the more men you're going to lose, and the less men you're going to have to replace them. So Persia is still like focused on this goal of getting Greece, no matter who their leader is at this time. So as time goes on, the Persian army is going to become weak. Their whole goal is to go after Greece. The problem is, remember, the Persian empire is about as large as the United States. If they take all of their army and they focus on one little area, that means that army is no longer protecting all the boundaries around their empire. And if your boundaries aren't protected, what's going to happen is outside empires, outside of Persia, outside of Greece, they're going to be looking at this and say, hey, this is like the best opportunity to go and invade. If you're the people of Persia and you're unhappy, hey, our army is focused only on Greece. They're not watching us. This is the best time to throw a rebellion, a revolt. And that's what's going to happen to the Persian Empire. Okay, so since they're not defending and the people in Persia are unhappy because this war is lasting so long, their taxes are high, most of the money in Persia are spent on palaces, not the people. So Persia is going to be weakened during this time frame. And since they're weakened and their borders are not protected, a new person is going to say, hey, this is my opportunity to make my own empire bigger. And that guy is going to be Alex the Great. Okay, Alexander the Great is going to be the leader of Macedonia. Okay, so he's going to see his prime opportunity in around 300 BC to say, hey, we're going to attack and we're going to take over Persia. Okay, Alexander the Great is also going to later go on to say, hey, if we took over Persia, why can't we take over Greece? Okay, so during this time, Alexander the Great really defeated all of Persia, and those Persian wars are going to come to an end. Okay, Greece is going to get their colonies back, at least for a little while, and their empire is going to be larger than it was before, okay, at least for a short period of time, until Alexander the Great gets a little bit more greedy. So after the Persian Wars, what's going to happen? Okay, Greece is kind of going to go back to what it was. But they're going to look at Athens as that leader. Okay, Athens was the one that brought everybody together. Athens was the one that came up with the plan. Athens was the one that took out the naval vessels. Okay, so Athens is going to look to the rest of Greece as the number one city-state, not Sparta. Okay, so Athens is this powerful city-state, and after the Persia Wars, a new leader is going to emerge, and his name is Pericles. Pericles is going to be such a good leader that he's going to rule for about 30 years. That's a long period of time. Okay, and Athens is going to become the center of Greece. Okay, the main city-state there, the most educated, the cultural center, the economic center of Greece. Okay, so if we look at Athens at this time, They have a democracy. The type of democracy that Athens has is called a direct democracy. Direct democracy means that every single person in Athens is going to be able to debate and vote on every single item in their city-state. Okay, direct democracy works if your population is not huge. Okay, we in our country have a lot of people. All right, we do not have a direct democracy. We have a representative democracy because there's no way that every single person would be able to debate and vote on every issue in our whole country. Okay, so what we're going to do is elect representatives to speak on our behalf. So instead of me voting on something in our state, I would speak to my representative and share my opinion. They would speak on my behalf. Okay, so direct democracy worked in Athens because their population wasn't huge. It was kind of big, but they didn't have 1 million people. Okay, so if we look at Athens at this time, they had about 43,000 male citizens. Remember, males in Athens are going to be those that are over the age of 18, they're educated and so forth. So their assembly had 43,000 people, but typically only 6,000 really came and participated. So 43,000 had the opportunity, but usually 6,000 people came to the regular meetings, which were held every 10 days. Now, during these meetings, it's the same thing that happens in like our Congress. They're going to pass laws, they're going to elect officials, they decide policy changes on war, and their relationship with other nations. And we're going to stop here and we'll continue on with how Athens really took the lead and how that's really going to upset Sparta. And we'll see you on the next video.